I'm interested because you touched on the business and your husband's business, and I know you're saying it wasn't necessarily your business, but going from a really solid 8-figure business that essentially back to the drawing board, and then starting your business off the back of that not too long later. What were the big lessons that you learned from that experience that you drew into what you're doing now, if any, that you've leveraged?
I would say, I have learned a lot in both the business. One that I co-founded in 2009, and you probably go, how did she come up with that? The only reason I had started Burger Ingredients in 2009 because I sacrificed a lot. So even when, Ben, when I had my 2 babies and I wasn't working, my husband just still gave me salary. And my husband thought that I spent all that money, but I saved it. So when he lost everything, it was something I learned from my grandmother. She always say, Jimmy, you always should have one card that you hide away, and that one day when your family really needs you, you have that card and you have the power to save them. And that's what I did, for 4 years. I'm a saver. I always save because I'm always worried that you never know, a crisis come up, something happens, because I am a mother and I always feel protective of my children. I thought I saved for my kids, but I end up saving for my first business. So I would say I would say in the last 2 businesses, Ben, I'm not gonna lie to you, it has been very hard for me because I had to sacrifice a lot. You're probably thinking, oh my gosh, she's got a 8-figure business. I put all my what I've learned is whatever money I make, profits, I invest everything back to grow my business. That's what I do, and I'm still doing that. So I'm still living in a very modest house. I'm still driving a very normal car. I don't pay myself executive salary because I'm constantly, I think what I've learned is the best business is to pay it off. Because when your business is debt-free, even if you had a very bad month, it's not going to impact you that much. So I would say what I've learned is even when I'm making 8 figures, I always inject the profits back into the business. I don't take any money out. Like this is my 12th year now. I have not taken out any dividends for myself because I've always made sure that financially, if the business have to be very healthy, because I'm not just when I launch a new product, I explained to you before, we have to launch into 960 stores. The raw materials, the packaging, the staff salary. Besides that, then last year I had to invest $2 million on equipment.
Wow.
So I've got a very heavy investment in my business when it comes to staff, raw materials, and equipment, because we're manufacturers. We're not just brand owners. So I would say I'm always been very, very, because of the losses in my life, I've always been so cautious. And I work very closely with 3 people, right? So I work closely with my finance manager every day. And I have extremely good relationship with Commonwealth Bank. They've been my banker for the last 12 years. The first loan they gave me was $8,500.
Yeah.
I have built that trust with them in the last 12 years. Like, you have to have, the reason I mention this is any business owner, once you chose the bank you like, you have to work with the banker very closely. So I think the bank with me is, I feel like I was a little baby and they grew up with me every year. So, when the banker understands you and you pay your bills on time, they are more likely to give you the loans higher and higher. But you have to always pay off one loan before you start a new one. And the third and I also have an external accounting firm that does all my integrity checks every single month. And always pay your ATO bills on time, right? And
Yes.
I also have an extremely good lawyer. So I would say, as an owner, always be on top of your finance. So the first thing I do is look at my bank account. I do all my transfers. I work with my finance manager. I work with my external accountant. I work with my bankers. And I work with my lawyer. Like, these are all very important to run a successful businesses.
Yes, and I think that what I'm getting from what you're saying as well is that having the right foundations in place, whether your business, personal
Yes.
finances as well, knowing that you've got that security there gives you the platform to accelerate and drive growth from as well. Because without that, and if you're working with a leaky bucket, or your debt levels are higher than you want them to be, or higher than where they should be to give you, that introduces then risk into your business or risk into your finances. Then it's a problem as well. And I think that those numbers, it's different depending on the nature of your business, the nature of your industry, all of those things as well. But knowing your numbers is a big part of that. And it sounds like you've got some pretty cool spreadsheets which help with the forecasting. That I think that's all part of it, figuring out what the right, what every person needs to do to make sure that it's right.